Hi, welcome to Grow New Plants. So today I'm going to do something a little bit different. I'm going to do some tomato plants and I'm going to start them inside on my grow shells inside that I have all my African violets on. I've never done tomatoes inside before, grown them from seed. A friend of mine up in Oklahoma, he's got a huge garden and he grows, I don't know, dozens and dozens of tomato plants every year. And he started his own this year and he had some leftover seeds of several different varieties, I think 6 different varieties. And he had extra seeds left over, so he gave them to me. So I'm going to try and start them in these pots. It's the end of February now, so hopefully give them maybe a month inside, 3 weeks inside, and they'll be ready to transplant outside. So I'm going to get reset up and I'll show you my little system and how I'm going to grow them. And let's get started. Okay, so the system I'm going to use here, I've got these trays right here and I've got a mat. So this is going to be for what you call bottom wicking for all these plants. So I got this little felt mat, I got this, and then I have this tray right here, and I did a numbering system. If you can see right here, the tomato 01 is Goliath original. Yeah, so then I've got pots marked T01, so that's how I'm going to know which ones are which. I've got 6 different varieties that he sent me, and so what I'm going to do, I'm going to get all my pots filled up. I'll time lapse through that, then we'll plant the seeds, cover them back up, and then I'll show you the final setup on how the watering and everything works with this system too. Okay, so I've got all my pots filled up, and this, I don't know if I said this before or not, this is just my standard African violet soil. So I've got all these things labeled T1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and I've got my sticker on top of my dome lid there. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to dump these seeds out onto this plate. Oh, there's one stuck in the plastic right there. One, two, three, four, five, six, seven. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yep. So he was kind enough to count all these for me too. So what I'm going to do is, hopefully they don't get away from me, is I'm just going to take a seed with these tweezers and push it about 1/4 of an inch or so down in the soil. And then tap it down gently. And I will, I'll do this first row and then I'll go ahead and time lapse through the rest of these. This is going to take me a little while to do this. Okay, so there's the first row. So I'll go ahead and we'll do all the other ones. I'll time lapse through that and then we'll get them watered in. We'll get them set up in there. Okay, I've got them all planted now, and I just have this, just plain water, tap water, and this little squeeze jug, and I'm just going to water them in gently. I don't want to float the seed up, but I want to get them pretty well saturated. And then once I move these into the tray, I may add a little bit of water to the bottom of the tray, and that'll help soak water up from the bottom. So basically, after, I'll show you once I get them in the tray, but basically you just add water to the bottom of the tray and these will soak up and keep themselves moist. So I don't have to ever water from the top again. This initial watering is the only time I ever do it from the top. So I don't know, I guess I can talk while I'm doing this. I don't really know what I'm going to do with this many tomato plants. I don't have a garden big enough for it. Most of my stuff I'll do containers. So I'll probably end up giving some of these away if they all germinate. But I'll keep a couple of each variety for sure and do them in containers and see what I get. And I'll do a follow-up video to see whether these things germinate or not. And then hopefully if I have some success with the container grown tomatoes, then I'll do another follow-up later in the year when we actually get tomatoes off of them. So anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and finish watering these things in, and then we'll get them moved into the tray. Okay, so I've got all these watered in good, so now all I got to do is move them over and put them in my trays. And these trays will hold 50 of these 2-inch pots. And then once they start growing, if they get too big, I don't know if I'm going to transplant them up into bigger pots or not. I may just go straight to the ground from here, just depending on how they do. But I may take these and space them out if they do start growing well and getting big and getting crowded. I don't want them to get weak from leaning on each other. So if they get too big and I don't think they're going to need to be transplanted into bigger pots, then I'll just take them and space them out and let them grow a little bit longer in these pots before I put them in the ground. So this system here works really good. And so I used it for well over a year for all my African violets, and they do great in this system just like this. And I'm making the assumption that the tomatoes will do fine in this soil. I know tomatoes like an acidic soil, and there's plenty of peat moss in this soil, so they should do fine in here. So once I get all these in here, I'm going to add a little bit more water to the bottom of this tray so they can absorb water into the bottom of the plants. And then once I do that, I'll probably honestly won't have to water them, but maybe add a little bit of water once a week, because with that dome in there, it's going to hold moisture. Okay, so I got them all in here, and then all I'm going to do, I'm going to add a little bit just to show you. So basically I'll get enough water in here, which is going to take a minute for it to run all the way down, just where there's a little bit of water standing in the bottom of this, and then it'll soak up from the bottom. I'm not going to add too much. I'll wait till I get them moved in there to the shelf, because it's just going to be a mess trying to move them. But it'll soak that water up into the bottom of these plants, and it'll wick all the way up to the top and keep them watered. So all we got to do is put our little dome over it, and I'm going to move inside and I'll show them to you on the shelf, and we'll be done. Okay, here we are in the plant room with all my little African violet babies. So I'm just going to slide this up here, and I've got dual fixtures on each shelf. I think they're 4000K grow lights, fixtures I made myself actually. So I'm going to sit them there on the shelf, and then I'll put my little dome over it, and that'll help hold that humidity in. And then basically just let them sit. I'm hoping within a couple weeks I'll start having tomatoes coming up. And once they start growing and they've germinated and each, the plants are up an inch or two tall, I'll take the dome off of them, and then I'll water them a little bit more after that. But again, these things will not take a lot of water sitting in this dome. It holds that moisture in there. It just doesn't lose much moisture. And it's a good draining mix. You don't want these things sitting in really solid soil where they don't drain, or the seeds will just rot. So hopefully this will work, and I'll have close to 50 different tomato plants. So anyway, I appreciate you watching. I will do an update on them when they start coming up. I appreciate you watching. Please like, please subscribe, please share my videos. Thank you.